Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Just me today, trying something a bit new as I am swamped for work at the moment in college. We're in final season, so I thought just be simpler to record my thoughts and then just put together a bunch of images. But you'll see me and Henry's faces in no time. We're always covering some stuff, and of course, there's gonna be a lot more movie reviews and TV reviews coming up. But for today, I'm very excited for this particular review. As the title says, I'm reviewing season 1 of Invincible, currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video. So, how did I come upon this series? It seems right now to be a bit of a cult commodity. I mean, I'm sure it will grow, no doubt, in the future. But I mean, I didn't even realize this. I knew this was a thing, but I didn't realize it even came out, or that was like releasing episodes weekly up until I think 2 weeks ago or so is when I first realized that this show was out. And I think the only reason I even knew this was a show, I was like looking for other roles to look at for the Justice League actors, so Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, or whatnot. I just love that cast. I want to see more of them. I saw Ezra Miller is a part of this cast. He appears as the episode 6 villain, D.A. Sinclair. And I was like, oh, he's appearing in something else. And then I was like, oh, this is a whole another show that I didn't realize. And I eventually decided, why not? I mean, it's weekly release. I actually thought the season was longer than the initial 8 episodes. And I binged the first 7, timed it kind of perfectly because I finished binging it just yesterday. Yesterday at the time I'm recording this, and season finales today, and it's been renewed for seasons 2 and 3. So overall, it's just been a nonstop Invincible train for me, and I'm so very glad to have gotten onto it because honestly, guys, this show is unbelievable. This is incredible superhero storytelling, and this might very well beat out Zack Snyder's Justice League for my favorite superhero property of the year. I know, it's crazy that those words even came out of my mouth, but I'm so serious, guys. This show is so incredible. And look, I'm standing by the Snyder Cut. You guys know me, I've said it 1,000 times. The Snyder Cut means so much to me. It was such a special moment in this year, and I'll be watching it. I'll definitely be rewatching it this summer. But Invincible is so unique, and I think a part of the effect it had on me was that I didn't really know anything about the comics or the character. I knew nothing about this. When I inevitably start The Boys, I'll go into it knowing a fair amount of just characters and certain events just because it's been telegraphed to me through social media. But I went into Invincible literally blind about anything, and I think I was just able to receive so much of this new version of superhero comics, and I was just like, this is just really, really great. It's just such great concepts, and I mean, let's get down to the specifics. I mean, let's see. Basic facts, streaming on Amazon, again, 8 episodes. Episodes are actually quite long for an animated show. In reality, I was expecting 20-minute episodes like Harley Quinn or Clone Wars, but they're solid 50-minute pieces. So that's definitely gonna be a solid binge for you all out there. And 8 episodes. Core cast is Minari's Steven Yeun as the titular character Invincible, Sandra Oh from Killing Eve and Mulan 2 as on Grey's Anatomy, of course, as Invincible's mom, Mark's real name, as Invincible's mom, Debbie Grayson, and then finally J.K. Simmons, the Whiplash drum teaching legend, as Omni-Man, which is Invincible's father. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This is honestly one of the most stacked, if not the most stacked cast of people. Just the guest stars they got. Again, Ezra Miller is there playing a villain. 2-time Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali is playing another villain. They got Walton Goggins from The Hateful Eight as the recurring capacity as this government agent named Cecil Stedman. Who else was really good? Oh, Zazie Beetz from Deadpool 2 and Joker appears as Invincible's girlfriend Amber. And who else? One more. Oh, Andrew Rannells from The Prom and The Book of Mormon appears as Mark's best friend William. And it's just a really great cast, and it's just a really dynamic group of people. And I guess since we're already talking about it, I'll start with acting, but the acting is so solid here. I'll admit Omni-Man took a bit to get used to, just because J.K. Simmons' voice and delivery is so iconic to me and stands out so much that, like, I was like, I had to get used to, like, I don't know, like, Omni-Man would speak and I would see, like, J.K. Simmons, I would see Fletcher, I would see J. Jonah Jameson, I would see Commissioner Gordon. I'm like, no, different character. But I got used to it. He does so well as Omni-Man. It's a great stoic, commanding performance. He is a character he's literally the most powerful person on Earth, and there is a veteran quality to him, like the classic. You get this whenever like Batman trains a new Robin, and I specify like not Dick Grayson, like specifically like Tim Drake or something. Like, this guy has been around, he's gone through this whole circuit before, and now here you are coming in as like not even the most recent new guy to like talk with him. You're coming in on a guy with so much history, and Simmons just really sells the power and the intimidation and the sort of stoic gentleness as contrasting as those two words are, and he does just such a great job. Sandra Oh as Debbie Grayson, I was really impressed with how they handled this character, because it did not unfold in the way that I thought. This character is so much more savvy and much more just emotionally aware. This is not a character you do not throw anything over this character. She will catch it and she will call you out for trying to put something over her. And Sandra Oh just does such a great job at being a like straight to the point, like no BS person, and also being just such the emotional center of this 3-person family. And it's so cool to watch. Super like compare it to like say Moira from Arrow or Nora from The Flash. Debbie Grayson is her own type of parent, and I loved watching how the character develops over the season. She really becomes not just she's the one without powers. She really does become a critical component of managing both father and son, and she does so well, and I was always invested in what was going on with her character. And then of course Mr. Yoon. I did not watch Walking Dead, so I didn't get on the Steven Yeun hype train until Minari, which was amazing. I highly recommend you check that out. And I didn't even recognize him. It's so unreal. Like maybe it was because like J.K. Simmons was playing an older like grizzled guy that I was like, oh, it's still J.K. Simmons. And this time Steven Yeun was like playing an aged down character. He's playing a teenager, but I did not recognize Steven Yeun at all. Like, and his performance was just so good. I mean, superhero voice acting has some heavy hitters you have to compete with. Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill as Batman and the Joker, number one. And Tim Daly as Superman. But, like, Steven Yeun, I think he earns his spot up there with those legends by, like, episode 2. Really, no, that's a lie. End of episode 1, like, he has a big emotional moment with his father, and Yoon does such a great job at portraying this sort of carefree this carefree spirit. A lot of like Shazam vibes in the beginning, where he's just this kid who discovers he finally has powers, and at the freedom and at the realization of what this means for him. But he does so good at being by the end of the season, he does such a great job as this battered soul. Like, dude goes through so much in this first season. It is unreal. Like, I thought like Barry Allen and Peter Parker's like first years were bad, but this guy gets wrecked repeatedly too, and And that's the other thing about the show. This show follows in the footsteps of Amazon's other superhero shows. It follows in the steps of The Boys. This show is brutal. Like, I would love to recommend this to so many of my friends, but I also know so many of my friends don't do well with gore, and this show does not pull back at all. Like, this show is probably and I haven't seen The Boys just yet, but Invincible might very well be the most violent superhero show ever made. It beats out Daredevil, beats out Punisher, beats out the crazy moments in Doom Patrol. This thing is unreal, and like, I would I'd like to think, like, at this point in my film TV watching career and life, I've seen enough that I'm just like, I can take it. But this show pushes the letter. I'm not gonna lie, I'll put it out there for anyone interested in the show. Like, beware, this show does not hold back. Show gets very creative in how some people take out other people, and you see the effects. You see what would happen if someone like Superman like punched a normal person. You know, in DC they like to show Superman like slap a person and they like fly across the room into some boxes and they like groan and that'd be it. But no, you see them, like, blood gets sprayed, bones get broken, insides, like, the show is brutal. And Mark, Invincible, just know I'm referring to the same characters if I'm gonna flip-flop between names. But man, Mark gets like beat up, and Mark goes through brutal battles throughout the first season, and like, you know, it's almost reminiscent of Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man film, you know, the final battle between him and Goblin, where Peter Parker just gets wrecked. And then just imagine that, like, every other episode, similar as, like, Flash, whenever Reverse Flash, or even Zoom in season 2, like, they first meet and Barry Allen just gets demolished. It's repeated over and over, and coupled with the show's, like, non-existent limit on violence, like, it really, like, you feel it when he gets beat up. You feel it, you see the hits he takes, and you feel bad because this isn't Bruce Wayne or Matt Murdock taking hits or Oliver Queen. This is a high schooler who, like, halfway through the show is like barely passing his junior year, and he is just getting thrown through the ringer. And Steven Yeun just displays, like, it's so cool to, like, you see how Mark and Ewan's performance develop over the season, because he does begin as Shazam. He begins as this guy so excited by the possibilities, but by, like, episode 5, I would say in particular, because that ending battle was brutal. Episode 5, you see him become so wary and tired and burnt out. It's like the last few episodes he's running on, like, low power mode. He's just so, like, worn out, and is like, because this was not the dream of the superhero life he envisioned. And it's such a powerful performance. It's such a great, like, I'm on the Steven Yeun hype train. Like, holy cow, Minari, and now this is, I'm so excited to see more from the guy. This is great stuff all around. And yeah, I mean all the performances are incredible all around. Other shout outs, Ezra Miller, I'm gonna shout out him, of course, as D.A. Sinclair. That was just a great mad scientist performance. Marshall Ali, I mean, reliable guy, never can go wrong with him. Great as the character Titan. Jillian Jacobs, I have to mention her as Adam Eve, Mark's kind of main superhero friend. She was great. I haven't seen Community just yet, but, like, that was a solid performance. Just great how they bounced off each other, and so that was just great stuff overall. And just moving into writing. Writing is my favorite aspect of this show. Just the structure and the way they organize. Because I thought going into this was going to be like an arced show, like, you know, every other show that's out these days. You know, every show that's not a like sitcom or comedy. But this show took an interesting, like, episodic approach, and even within those episodes, like there was so much happening. Like, compared to Batman the Animated Series and Harley Quinn, those shows were episodic. There was, like, Harley Quinn had more of an arc than Batman, but even then it didn't, like, it was like reference. It was used like a guiding tool, but it was never the main point for most of the time. And there was still, like, random things happening, but Invincible, there's so many different side stories on so many different characters that I wasn't expecting, but it never felt like it was taking attention away from Invincible. It just felt natural. It felt like they were exploring out this really intriguing world, and this is a very intriguing version of the superhero world. I mean, one, the government agency, they're not a bunch of dicks. I mean, that's for the first time in forever, we don't have an Amanda Waller who's like lying to the heroes. We got like a sort of honest leader in Cecil Stedman, and he's like there's an actual communication system happening between his organization, the GDA, and the main superhero team, the Guardians of the Globe, and it's really interesting to see this network of characters and how they all react. There's like an actual like tier system of heroes, which I don't feel like we've really gotten, with the exception of like maybe the DC animated universe, where it's like you have your Justice League, you have your Titans and whatnot. Like, they're not all just like part of the same team. It feels like, oh, there's like levels and there's like different groups and there's a whole community and culture around it, which I thought was fascinating. And like, again, there was like side stories and there was like side stories. It'd be like plot point B and then plot point B A, and like the way they would just oh my gosh, just like I'm trying to find the words to like properly describe, but the way they just organized it is so fascinating. It's so cool. I mean, getting into slight spoilers now, so that's your spoiler alert. But like the first two episodes feature a Secret Service agent, and there's like a short arc with him and his son, and then they like disappear for like 2 episodes, and the son comes back in like one scene, but the scene ends up being so critical to the rest of the show's like side points. But it doesn't feel like this is random, this is out of place, this is like taking away from attention. Like, this is an actual, excuse me, anyway, we're back. So that, like, now what were we talking about? Oh, we're talking about the writing. The writing and just the organ, like that, like side story of the Secret Service's son, like that's like plot point D, but it's just there enough that you know what's happening, and when it comes back and it intersects with like what is basically plot point C at that point in the season, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so cool. You're building out this universe amidst multiple storylines, and it's all working. Like, this is Pulp Fiction and like Batman v Superman, 2 other movies with like multiple interweaving storylines, and this is just magnified. And I think like it's just even more cohesive, maybe because it's a TV show, so they have more time to build out this stuff. But I love just like, it would cut away from Mark and I wouldn't complain, because I knew that there was something interesting happening. And again, it was never the same character throughout each episode, which I thought was so cool. Like, it would jump between members of the Guardians of the Globe. It would jump between some of the villains. It would jump between Cecil. It would jump between Debbie and Omni-Man. And it would never feel like you lost sight of what Mark's journey was in that current episode, and you never like, but you were still getting so much out of this universe. I thought that was just so cool. And like, you know, most of these superhero shows are usually focused one conflict per se. Again, I mean to keep making references, but at this point in the genre, you got to start looking around and be like, what's one doing differently, what's one doing similar, what's worked, what hasn't. And in this case, to compare it to like Arrow's episodes, whether it be like filler episode or like core story episode, there's usually established one sort of objective, and then they pursue it that one time to stop whoever it is or to get out of whatever situation. You rarely, like, you know, it's Oliver Queen, John Diggle, Felicity Smoke, and whatever allies, depending on your season, and they're going at it. They rarely just cut away to like Black Canary, who's like often wherever doing whatever. But here it does that, and like it just works. And I'm trying to like, I guess, voice out why it is, but I can just only imagine. Again, they've plotted it so well. They start out with the Secret Service agent thing. That's the first thing you get of the show. You don't even meet Mark until like the 3rd, 4th scene. And then it comes back and you're like, oh, it's this character again. And just small reoccurring in the background details that I love that slowly just add up to this experience. It kind of reminds me in a funny way of like How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother would do this sometimes, of like having these background details just sort of like explode. Like for those who watch like season 9, for example, Ted Mosby has like a reoccurring gag of where he's the single guy in the room, and then that's the season they introduce the mother. There's one episode where the hotel concierge like recommends her, she goes to this exact spot because he knows Ted is the single guy there, and you're like, oh, it all just comes together. And I loved watching that, and it helped again by the incredible cast that made all the guest spots, all the Freak of the Week villains so incredible. And it's honestly the most involving and well-paced superhero season, or at least like is one of the best. We won't get ahead of ourselves. Watchmen, Doom Patrol, you know, we can't get ahead of ourselves. We only got one season so far, but honest to God, guys, 8 episodes, one season, finished literally today as I'm recording this, April 30th. This show is in my top 5 superhero shows of all time, and like I feel bad about it because like it knocks off some other shows that have like multiple seasons, but I'm like, this first season is just unreal. It's so charming. I love, like, because of its episodic feature, this isn't one of those cases where like if you're gonna rewatch it, you have to like rewatch the whole thing. Like you could just rewatch just the one episode and you'd be fine. You'd get so much out of it. And it's so charming. It is so brutal to an unnerving but also kind of fresh degree, because again, no show has gone as demented as this thing has, and just brutal as it gets. And it's just the heart and the charm. It is that classic Billy Batson storyline, coming of age, of like exploring your heroes, but it's so just more bent and darker about it. And it's just such a charming show. It's an intense show, and it is a satisfyingly engaging show. And you could watch. I highly recommend these 8 episodes. You'll be hooked, and you'll be left wanting more. And even then, at the first season, the show accomplishes something that doesn't always happen with superhero shows and kind of network television in particular, where you could kind of watch that final episode and be like, I'd be good. Like, of course, for obvious reasons, the show demands a season 2 for reasons you will see within the show, but it ends on such like a positive, like no cliffhanger, no BS. Like, the CW shows like to do that all the time. They end their season of massive cliffhangers that just don't have any closure, but Invincible does dedicate a lot of time to closing out the first season, the arcs, and it feels at the end like you finished like a year of these people's lives, and it's so satisfying. It's so interesting. Gosh. Yeah, guys, I mean, this is in my top 5 superhero shows, and it's so worth it. I can't recommend this enough. And maybe I won't have to, because maybe it'll blow up, but if it doesn't, you guys heard it from me first. This is legit. This is amazing. And the last 2 episodes in particular, you won't find better superhero content than that. So that's my review of season 1 of Invincible. Go watch it. It'll be one hell of a day. Most likely you bingers out there will dedicate a day to this, but it will be one hell of a day to watch it. And yeah, that's it. That's about it. Stay tuned as always from the channel. Always something happening. Movies are coming out. We're getting it looks like restrictions are getting lifted. Both me and Henry are getting vaccinated. So we'll be back in, hopefully, knock on wood, be back in movie theaters. So, yeah, looks to be a interesting summer. So take care, stay safe, stay invincible. See you guys soon.